Notification of tax increase with 3 public hearings. The Levy Authority must hold 3 public hearings allowing the public input into the proposed increased taxes. 2 of these public meetings may coincide with required hearings associated with the millage rate process, such as a public hearing required by OCGA Section 3681.5 when the budget is advertised, and the public hearing required by OCGA Section 48-5-32 when the millage rate is finalized. One of the 3 public hearings must begin between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. in the evening. This represents the first public hearing required by law, and it's 9 a.m. We will have another public hearing at 6 o'clock this evening for this purpose, and then the third and final public hearing will be July the 29th at 9 a.m., and that hopefully the board will adopt the millage. Now, having said that, I would like to recognize the team that's going to present all the pertinent information as required by law, and I will turn the floor over to Tax Commissioner Davy Curry and Interim County Manager Sherry Matthews. So good morning.
Good morning. We're here this morning to present the digest figures for 2015. 2015, like 2014, we saw an increase in values across the county. It looks like we're coming out of the recession from 13, 14, and 15. Hopefully the trend will continue the next few years. Ms. Sherry Matthews has a PowerPoint she'd like to present this morning. However, before we get started with that, do we want to show the video? There's about a 4-minute video that I believe it's on our webpage, Tax Commission website, that shows where the county tax revenue goes and what it supports. The volume may be a little hard to hear, so if the citizens at home want to pull up our webpage, www.henrytc.org, they're welcome to take a look at it. But it's a great video. It's 4 minutes long. It shows you exactly where your tax dollars go to.
Let's begin with public safety. For less than half what you would pay for an annual security alarm service, Henry County households get 24-hour police protection by police officers whose proactive approach to law enforcement and dedication to catching bad guys and solving cases ensures one of the lowest crime rates in Metro Atlanta. Once the police make an arrest, Henry County's court system takes over, with more than 77,000 cases being heard each year by the Superior, State, Juvenile, Magistrate, and Probate courts, as well as the new accountability courts. They keep those wheels of justice turning for about the price of a single tire for your car. For the cost of outfitting your home with smoke detectors and
fire extinguishers, you can call 911 for an ambulance or to report a fire and have duly trained, highly qualified firefighter EMTs arrive at your door within minutes to protect your property and your family's health. And their strong ISO rating also means lower homeowners insurance premiums. For less than we pay for the average oil change, Henry County residents are assured that their public roads are maintained and the right-of-way areas are mown, both of which make our roads safer and keep our communities looking pristine. All those roads lead back and forth between neighborhoods and shopping centers and other developments that require careful planning and oversight to ensure our safety and compliance with building, zoning, and environmental codes. That takes the expertise of our Housing and Development Division, which does it all for the cost of a couple of 2x4s. To ensure our children have quality recreation programs like day camps, as well as fun playgrounds and well-maintained athletic fields to play on, fields that enable Henry County to host tournaments that bring in an estimated $22 million in tourism revenue each year, Henry County households pay the equivalent of the price of a typical soccer ball. And for about what you might pay for a single paperback novel, our families have access to thousands of books, plus computer terminals and a fantastic summer reading program at any of Henry County's 5 public libraries. We also make sure that our seniors have a safe place to gather with friends, do crafts and stay active, and that those who can't get out are delivered a hot meal every less than the cost of a single movie ticket. And for about what you pay for a breakfast at a drive-thru, Henry County makes sure that everyone who needs it has a way to get to all these wonderful amenities and more with Henry County Transit. From ensuring that county computers are working and managing the county's finances to picking up stray animals and handling the community's recycling, there are numerous other services that Henry County provides. And there's one department that helps you learn about all of it. The Communications Department touts government actions, programs, and services through Henry TV 14, the county website, a free e-newsletter, press releases, and brochures, all for the cost of a Sunday newspaper. Over the last 5 years, Henry County has cut its budget by more than $17 million, yet the county has continued to provide the services that help to maintain the quality of life that the citizens have come to expect for an average of just over $600 per household. Henry County really does deliver a lot for the money.
That's just a quick video of where the tax dollars go in Henry County. What a lot of people don't realize, that 1/3 of the tax dollar they pay in property taxes goes to the county. 2/3 goes to the school system. So while there's a lot of energy spent on people that come in front of you to voice their opinion about property taxes, the citizens need to realize that 2/3 of that property tax dollar goes to the school board, 1/3 comes to the county, and you're the run the county on that 1/3. With that being said, I believe Ms. Sherry Matthews has a PowerPoint she wants to run through right quick. It's fairly short, 6-7 pages. If you've got any questions, we'll be happy to answer those afterwards.
Thank you, David, and certainly an excellent video and an excellent segue into why we're here this morning. As David has indicated, we are here for the fiscal year 2015 millage rate hearing. I do have a couple of slides that I'm going to go over, and then I'll certainly open it up for any questions that you all may have. As you all are aware, in May of this year, we did adopt our fiscal year 2016 budget. The budget was adopted at a rate of $134.6 million. The board also adopted a resolution which capped our unassigned fund balance at no less than 25% of the annual budget. The $134.6 million budget was adopted with $4.2 million budget shortfall use of our fund balance. There was $2.7 million in unassigned fund balance excess. For the public and for you all, the reason our budget increased was for a number of reasons. We had increased departmental needs. We had a 3% raise for all employees across the board. We had the implementation and construction of our new employee health clinic, which is set to open on October 1st of this year. We had an insurance premium increase in which the board elected to take on that additional increase at $1.7 million. We had judges increases that will go into effect January 2016. We also had new requested positions and salary increases. We gave additional funds to the library, and then we had some senior centers that needed some major improvements and cosmetic changes, and then we had jail improvements. But most notably, we also have a new fire station that is set to come on board this year at a cost of about $1.18 million. So we talk about why are we asking for our millage rate, and why are we doing all this? Well, first off, we need to plan now for our future. In the past, what we've done is we've had a budget, we've adopted it, but we haven't started looking at any long-range plans and looking at what do we need to do for next year. So one thing that I wanted to highlight for you all and for the public is that we have some new items that will be coming on next year, but they're already in the making now. We have a lot of projects that are under design, but we also have projects that we're going to have to fund as far as the operation of those departments or facilities. We have a new Hampton Senior Center that is set to open next year. The operation and employees for that facility is about $335,000. As you all are aware, the design is being done under SPLOST, but as far as funding the operation and employees, that will have to come out of general funds. We also have the new Hampton Recreational Center. The operation, employees, and the increase in insurance is going to cost the county about $180,000. Then we also have two new fire stations that are going to cost about $1.1 million for the county. But again, SPLOST will be designing those projects as well. Our 2015 tax digest, where we stand now. We had a tax digest increase of $6,632,273, with a less growth of $344,421. Our true tax dollar increase is $6,287,852. If the 100% rollback would require a millage rate of 13.234 from the present 14.298 millage rate. So our millage rate options. Option 1, retain the current millage rate of 14.298. Option 2, roll back the millage rate to 13.873. And then obviously not an option would be 100% rollback of 13.234. And I'll explain all options. Option 1, which is the current 14.298 millage rate, which is our current millage rate. As you all are aware, the citizens were given $1 million back last year. The retainage of the current millage rate of the 14.298 would result in an increase of $6,632,273 worth of tax dollars, but a true tax dollar increase of $6,287,852 less the growth. The current millage rate would cover the $4.2 million budget shortfall, use of fund balance, without having to utilize any funds from our existing unassigned fund balance. The retained excess for unassigned fund balance, which is $2.4 million, which could be added to the present 2.7 present unassigned fund balance excess. Why the millage rate can't be rolled back to 100% to 13.234. If the millage rate were rolled back to the 13.234, which would be 100% rollback, we would only retain $344,421, and that would be from the new growth that we've received. The unassigned fund balance would be at $1.1 million, and it would fall below the 25% as adopted by the resolution from the Board of Commissioners. Option 2 would be to roll back the millage rate to 13.873. The taxpayers would get back $2.4 million. The county would retain $4.2, of which $344,000 of that is new growth, and this would equate to a tax dollar increase of $6,632,273. The fiscal year 26 budget shortfall was $4.2 million, and we would only have to decrease the unassigned fund balance by $2,663. Yes, sir.
This option fund the budget that we adopted, which includes the 3% raises?
Yes, sir. It would
for
fund the
employees?
budget that we've adopted, and we would only have to take $2,663 out of unassigned fund balance.
And we still get to give back $2.4 million to the taxpayers, correct?
That is correct. I am now available, myself, David, Fred, Angie, and any of the other team members are available to answer any questions that you all may have.
We have any questions from the board? Hearing none, I would open the floor up for 3 minutes apiece for a public hearing. Anybody would like to address this issue, if you would, come to the podium, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. So the floor is now open for anyone, for any comments.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tim Pugh. I live at 517 Greg's Place in McDonough. I have several questions, and I'm not an expert on taxes or anything else. First question, it has nothing to do with taxes. Is it okay for me to ask that question? When I walked in, we have great security over here. They stopped me with my drink and told me I couldn't have a drink in the building or in this room. As I sit here, I watched 7 people come in that are either officials or on payroll with a drink in their hand. And I'm sitting there curious as to why there's a separation between me and you. And I wonder how far that goes. is there a separation in every aspect between me and you? Secondly, David said that there was we've been out of recession from 2013 to present. That means an increase in property values, which would be an increase in taxes. There's been an increase in business growth, which means an increase in taxes. There's been an increase in population, which would mean an increase in taxes. And this is just my opinion. We have, according to them, $2.7 million in unassigned funds that will be carried over from 2014, I think. With the option one, I believe there'll be a $2.4 million unassigned that would be carried over in 2015. Guys, I'm just wondering, with all these increases that are an increase in taxes, why in the world we're looking at increasing the millage rate on homeowners in the county? It just doesn't make sense to me. And like I say, I'm not a tax expert. I don't know a whole lot about money. And one thing I heard that I'm just like, what does that mean? Give back to the taxpayer. I get a lot of services from Henry County, but I haven't gained money back that I know of. And I'm just curious as to how the taxpayer gets money back in the amount of $1 million, I believe the amount was. So I appreciate your time, and I just kind of like to have a little better understanding as to the answers that I've asked you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard at this time? If not, I'm going to declare that the public hearing has been completed and met all requirements. Do we have any comments from the board? Or any questions from the board? If not, does somebody move we adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I do just want to try to provide some clarification on the gentleman that spoke, some of the questions that he raised in terms of the millage increase. If I may, I'll place a slide on the overhead for you. The options that staff has prepared is, of course, option one, which would be to retain the 14.298. But the second option is to actually reduce the millage rate from 14.298 to 13.875. And you'll see in parentheses that would be a reduction of about 0.425. So just for clarification, I wanted everyone to understand that we weren't recommending that there would be an increase to the millage rate. The second option actually would be a decrease to the millage rate.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Yes, sir. District 2.
I think it would also help the gentleman to understand, because there's a lot of confusion about this. We had somebody come for public comments last night, and I thought it was interesting that they probably didn't realize, and it shows how confusing the situation is. They said, we know the tax, he says, don't raise our taxes because we know that the tax digest is growing. That should be enough for you to live off of. Well, it's true. I mean, as the tax digest is growing, as the county grows, as your property values go up, we shouldn't increase your taxes. But there's this crazy, quirky thing, and even the chairman's talked about how crazy and quirky it is, that under Governor Barnes, they've made it where even if we cut the multiplier, and that's when we say we're giving it back to the taxpayers, that the percentage, if you take the property value, and then you have to have a multiplier that's your tax rate. We're actually lowering that multiplier. That's when we say giving it back, is we're actually lowering that number, but your tax value has still gone up. The assessed value has gone up. So we're trying to do what I would want, as a taxpayer, is that we're paying for the new fire stations, we're paying for the pay increases that, people haven't had in 4, 5, 6 years. but we're also giving money back by lowering that millage rate, the multiplier that the taxpayers pay. I went a step further in the research because I think it's why should we're not in a bubble. There's other communities around us that have taxes as well, so let's look at them. And I think most of us, well, I can tell you all of us are very fiscally conservative people up on this board. Nobody wants to spend more than we're supposed to, so I pulled any that I could. And I thought it was interesting. Cobb County, and I thought it was interesting how it was advertised. The first paragraph on this article about Cobb County and what they're doing with their millage, it said, Cobb Chairman Tim Lee said, due to growth in the value of property in the county, the Board of Commissioners will consider lowering the county's property tax rate at the meeting this month. So you're like, wow, okay, so these guys are lowering the taxes just like we're considering. But then as you dig deeper, you realize their millage was 7.32 last year. They're going to lower it down to 7.12. See how they brought the multiplier down? But still, they have to advertise it just like we will have to advertise it as a tax increase, because if you did a full rollback, because the government makes us say, what would the tax rate have to be if you just went back to exactly what the revenue or tax collection was last year? So they don't care that you're opening up new fire stations. They don't care that you're giving pay raises or anything else. They just want to say, what does it have to go back to? Cobb County, you'd have to roll it back to 6.944. So they're going to have to advertise that they're increasing taxes, even though they're going to do exactly what we're doing of rolling the multiplier back. Cherokee County. Cherokee County is known as being a very conservative county. The Cherokee County Board of Commissioners is advertising the same general fund millage rate for this year as they did last year. So they're, by definition, they're not changing the tax rate, but because the tax values have gone up, they're actually increasing taxes according to the letter of the law that Governor Barnes came out with. Forsyth County, which we all know Forsyth is considered, a county that a lot of people look up to because of their growing economy. This surprised me. Forsyth County is actually increasing their millage. They're increasing it by 0.55 mils because they've got some transportation projects and other things that they're trying to do. So they're actually increasing theirs. I tried to find Fayette County and other things, but they were in the middle of doing this exact process that we are, so I couldn't go pull them. So I guess I'm long-winded to tell you I have the exact same goals you do, sir, in the fact that I want to lower your taxes as much as possible, but we have to also make sure that we pay for the fire stations, we pay for giving the pay raises that haven't occurred in quite a few years, and that's what we're going to try to do. And I hope that helps out, but I just want to make sure you didn't feel like you came up here and expressed your concern and then we didn't hear it, because we really are trying to do what we can with this. Thank you for your time, though.
Can I have a response?
Sure.
I totally agree with you. I don't think there's a government in the state of Georgia that would willingly increase taxes on the people that they serve. My problem is, and David, you may have to answer this, I believe it was 2012 or 2011, property values took a nosedive. During that same time, there was a tax increase. And the citizens of Henry County paid the price. As we've increased the population, business, growth, homes, the whole 9 yards, and we are increasing across the board, there's been no reduction back to the same percentage that we were paying in 2011 and 12.
We have been reducing. Because just to give you the history, I came on in 2012. I voted against that budget and I voted against that tax increase, but every other year that I've been on the board since 2012, we have worked, I think in 2013 we actually kept it flat. I mean, we did the full rollback to what that was asked for, and then every other year we've rolled it back even more so. So we have been rolling the millage back every year since 2012.
What you're saying is, let's say you went back to 2013, you would have done an option 2? Excuse me.
I'm saying we've lowered the multiplier every year since 2012. You're correct. I think, and that's the key component that I try to remind everybody of. This is a two-part process. We have a budget part where we create the budget that we all have to live off of, and then we have the funding of the budget, which is these millage hearings. I think if any commissioner doesn't like where taxes are, they have to vote against the budget, because that's actually where the money is spent, is when you create the budget. And that's why every budget I've ever approved has been one that is actually lowering what that millage rate is. So we have been, and maybe we haven't been bragging about it enough, but we've been lowering that multiplier every 2013, 2014, and now we're doing it again in 2015. We will be lowering that multiplier.
So that actually makes me feel better. I know with numbers that they can be manipulated, they can be spun, but you know, when you see a number on your tax assessment that has gone up and you're going, how, why? And I do understand property values opposed to taxes.
Right.
It still seems to be a tax increase.
Right. And that's what Governor Barnes, that's the heart of what he was trying to accomplish in 1999. But it's still, and I think, but nobody knew what was going to occur in 2008 with the real estate collapse.
Right.
And that's the thing, I can tell you my own personal house here in Henry County, I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. I used to tell people if the county would buy my house for what they have it assessed at, I would sell it to them at. And I think that that is a scary thing when you look as a homeowner, you look at your tax assessment and you go, they're crazy, they can take it. I will tell you now, and maybe I should be, because I pay taxes just like everybody
Right.
else out here does. I look at my tax assessment now, I wouldn't sell my house for what they have my house assessed for. I think it's worth, my house is worth more, and I should be careful saying that out loud, but I think my house is worth more than what they have my house assessed for. And that's what I think that, and that's a healthy thing, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, even growing up here in Henry County, I think there's always supposed to be a slight separation. But you know, you want it to reflect the market value, but it doesn't need to get ahead of itself. And we have not caught back up, and David can probably add some stats that our tax digest as a whole still is not as big as it was, and I think that's the numbers you've put up there to kind of go over.
Thank you.
What's not up there, Mr. Pugh, you had excellent questions and excellent points. What's not up here is 2009. 2009, we reached our peak at taxable value. Well, people need to understand, taxable value is 40%. So, for the sake of easy figuring, let's say your home is fair market value $100,000. The taxable value is 40%, $40,000. In 2009, Henry County had $6.7 billion with a B dollars in taxable value. That's a 40% number. 2010, it dropped incredibly to 5.7, and it continued to drop to 2012 to 4.6. So literally within about 3 years, we lost $2 billion in taxable value. Yet, you were charged to run this county with police services, fire services, libraries, recreation fields, and everything else. 2010-11, there was a decrease in the amount of tax revenue that was collected because I believe there was some pulling from general fund or fund balance, something like that. 2012 to 13, you don't see much of an increase there. There was a very slight increase in taxable value across the board from 2012 to 13. And that's why I said in 2013, we started to see a change in direction. The trend started going the other way. Wasn't much, but it was a little bit. In 2014 and 15, we continue to see the upward trend in values. Excellent point.
Anybody else have any questions? The only comment I would make publicly is that when you have a commission up here making comments of their opinion, that is their opinion, and it doesn't necessarily represent the thoughts of others commissioners sitting on the board. So just keep that in mind. So does anybody else have any questions or thoughts? If not, does somebody move we adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion from District 1, second District 3. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, no. Same sign. So moved. Adjourned.